Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and tonight we have guest Iona Jenkins. She is the author of To Sing with Bards and Angels, a creative journey into the creative heart. She is a druid, order of bards. I've never had. I don't know. I've had some people. I don't know if I've ever had somebody actually as a druid on the show. I have a lot of questions on that because I've always been interested in Celtic and druid. I have a lot of Irish heritage in my background, so I'll be interested in that. But also, she's going to talk a lot about tonight of channeling that creative inspiration. You know, we've talked about on the show that we believe a lot of artists and authors and people channel from some kind of higher source. And this is a lot of what her book's about. I haven't got to finish reading it, but I have been reading it this week, and it's very, very poetic. She has a lot of great, beautiful poetry, but it's a lot about inspiring you, your inner creative self, and reaching something that's beyond you. You know, I don't know if any of you guys have done anything creative, artistic-wise, or written a song, made a painting, written a story, or felt like it just came out of you, out of nowhere. That's what she's tapping into, I think, in this book a lot. We're going to get into that, and we'll open up the phone lines a little bit later in the show. Now, I don't know if I'm going to make it a full 3 hours tonight. My back is not doing the greatest, and our guest is across the pond, so it's early in the morning for her. So we'll see how long she lasts. We'll see how long I last. We'll try to do the full 3. We'll see how it is. Missed you since we haven't been back since last Easter, and we got a lot of weird to get to, so let's go ahead and get rolling into the show. Welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. As I said before, I'm your host, Jason Bland. Tonight's guest, Iona Jenkins, will be joining us after our news segment, after the World Wide Web of Weird, after our first commercial break. And then later in the show, we'll open up the phone lines. We'll definitely get that far into the show. We'll definitely have some phone calls and that. But I don't know. I've been suffering from a horrible bad sciatic. And I don't know. Even this comfortable chair, it's got like the lumbar support, doesn't do enough. Like, I don't know. I see her sit too long and it starts to bother the hell out of me. I know. I'm getting old. I'm a baby. Men have no pain tolerance. I totally agree. Somebody who has a very high tolerance for pain, it makes it here. You know, I'm the baby. It's Jamie D. How you doing tonight, Jamie?
Doing good, thank you. And I'm happy to be back.
I hope you had a good Easter.
It was nice. I hope you guys did too.
Yeah, we had really good weather. It was a really great Easter. We got to actually be outside in the yard, and then it totally turned today, like totally cold, and it might snow tonight. Welcome to Indiana. And then, that's why my psoriatic arthritis is just going nuts on me right now. I'm just being a baby. All right, joining me from a very much warmer St. Augustine, Florida, is Rob Audrey himself. How you doing tonight, Rob?
I'm doing pretty good, yeah, I think. Easter was terrible here, weather-wise.
Now, the other thing I got to warn the audience of is that I have a storm coming in right now, like at least by wind. I don't know. They should show snow later, Jesus. But it is very windy, and hopefully you don't lose power or anything. So knock on wood, because we've got a great guest tonight and a lot of weird to get to. So let's go ahead and roll into the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight on the World Wide Web of Weird, we got a lot of weird to get to because we weren't here from last Easter. After I had one really bad Easter show, I've never done one, so we've been gone. We weren't here last Sunday, so we're back. So it's always a lot of weird to get to when I'm gone for 2 weeks. And I thought I'd start out with these. You know, I had a great Easter. Sounds like everybody else hopefully did. But these poor people here in Spain did not have such a great Easter. Virgin Mary statue suddenly catches fire during parade in Spain. And is this a bad omen? This is just showing you how crappy things are going in the world. For those listening on the Paranormal Soup radio channel on the Paranormal Talkstream radio app, we are a live webcast. We stream out every Sunday to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And sometimes we have videos like this one. And sometimes we have just photos or whatever. But otherwise, I try to narrate as best as possible. All right, so I got this from coast to coast. Attendees at the Palm Sunday parade in Spain were understandably aghast when a statue of the Virgin Mary suddenly burst into flames. According to a local media report, the eerie scene occurred during a procession in the city of Vélez, Malaga, if you say it. As the float carrying the statue it wound its way through the streets of the community, onlookers were stunned to see that the piece had unexpectedly caught fire. Rather unsettling video of the incident shows a man scrambling into the vehicle in a desperate attempt to extinguish the flames as people watching nearby unleash anguished screams and stunned exclamations. Go ahead and roll that. This is really actually sad.
Anytime the audience is aghast, anytime you use that word.
Yeah, these people, I mean, this is the worst. I mean, these guys actually had to go to the hospital. They're putting out the fire here, watch, because they got burnt. There. He's got the audio down, but they're wailing in the background. The people are more than aghast. They're horrified. Is this an omen, though? I mean, is this bad? Is this like... And they said a candle that was on. And why would you put candles on a thing like this?
I don't think it's good.
Yeah. Got knocked over. I'm like, well, yeah, you don't put candles on a float.
Yeah.
It makes me uncomfy.
Doesn't it? Like, it's like, I don't know. It feels like something out of a nightmare. I don't know. The burnt Virgin Mary statue. It's definitely a bad omen. I'm half glass empty on this one, man. Yeah. Oh. Like I said, I had a lot of weird to get to this week. Let's go ahead and get to the next one. This is sad. I hope it's not a bad omen. This really sucks for these people. They had to witness this. Now, I had a different story, and then last minute, my mom sent me this. My mom, she's recovering from knee surgery and has a physical therapist that came to, I guess her physical therapist gave this to her. It's a local story. I mean, I'm in LaPorte County, kind of local, whatever, it's in the sister town. And actually, this is like, I think in La Crosse. I'm going to have to read it off the photo of the thing. I don't get the newspaper. I would have never seen this because, I don't get a newspaper. How many people get newspapers anymore? Maybe I should, right? So here's the story from Friday, and I'm guessing this is from the Herald Argus, maybe. It was the LaPorte's newspaper. A man sustained front end damage to his vehicle after driving off the road in La Crosse, which is not far from LaPorte, and blamed Bigfoot for the accident. Now, I've always said, one of the reasons I'm not a Bigfoot, I don't believe there's really any Bigfoot population here in northern Indiana, but maybe I'm wrong. Deputies responded to the crash at 9:50 p.m. in the area of County Road 500 West and County Road 2100 South, where they found a disabled vehicle with its airbags deployed in a plowed field. The driver told deputies he believed there was a dark figure intent on doing him harm, so he was trying to drive out of the area. He further explained he saw Bigfoot or a subject like Bigfoot next to his vehicle, so he attempted to avoid it by turning left on County Road 2100 South, but was unable to stop at the stop sign and ran off the roadway. He then traveled down a ditch embankment into the plowed field. Deputies performed a standardized field sobriety test on him, but showed no signs of impairment, so deputies released him to his family and referred him to a mental health professional. I want to know more. I mean, especially since this is local. But even if this wasn't local, I'd kind of want to know more.
I want to see him actually on video say it was Bigfoot. You know, I want to see, is he being sarcastic? Is he being...
Or no, I mean...
The emotion on his face when he talks about it.
Obviously, he wasn't intoxicated or high. The cops were looking for that.
They were.
I mean, he was. There's no way he was. Because if he was anything, they would have arrested him. Any signs of anything with that story. Yeah. So obviously, he was completely sober. So what happened?
I mean, he could have said it was a deer.
And what time is this? It was 9:50 p.m. Was he out there for some reason looking for this? Is there something up? You know what it makes me think of though? There is an area in Kingsbury where some people have seen weird stuff like this. And there used to be a munitions area there. And I've heard stories about that possibly having some big creatures and stuff like that. Even like big giant rats or something like that. I mean, like big giant rats.
Maybe the weather, how it displaces wildlife, is displacing Bigfoot. So he's having to come in closer.
Yeah, I would, I would love to know more. Anybody local that does listen to my show, which is not many probably, if you do find out more or find out who, this person, if this somehow got out to the person who witnessed this, that this article is about, you have an open ear here, no judgment, and anonymously we can have you come on the show and talk about it. I can't disguise your voice and all that kind of technology, but I think you'd be safe. You want to come on the show or email me at paranormalsoupjbland@gmail.com and tell me there. Okay, let's move on.
I've
We'll
got
run out
that
of time.
voice disguiser box. I swear I thought she was 21.
All right, you guys remember a few months ago, I think it's been a few months, maybe it's been longer, of a security guard who talked to somebody that wasn't there. Remember that one? Well, now there's this TikTok one going around. And tell me what you guys think. My wife, I played it for her. I'll tell you what we both thought. Back in November 2022, we reported on a case of an Argentinian security guard who was filmed, which we covered, and speaking to a seemingly invisible entity in the lobby of a care center. Now something very similar has happened again, this time involving a security guard in a building in Houston, Texas. In the clip, which was filmed by a coworker through a CCTV feed, the guard can be seen talking and gesturing as though as having a conversation with someone on the building's corridor. When asked by his coworker over the radio who was talking to the guard, replied that he had been chatting to a woman named Miss Abigail. Go ahead and play it. And this has audio, and you're going to need to turn up. And this is, you can get the original video, Hidden Underbelly. You definitely need audio. There it is. Still not hearing
Who are
it.
you talking to?
Dispatch 329.
329, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Who are you talking to?
I'm talking to a lady. I saw her walking by the store, and she said she's looking for Mr. Griffin. Her name is Miss Abigail.
Hold on.
Play it again when you're done.
Did you say Miss Abigail?
Yes, ma'am. She says she wants to see Mr. Griffin, and I told her that the canvas is closed, that she should come tomorrow morning, and she might see Mr. Griffin.
Are you sure you're saying Miss
Peter
Abigail?
Griffin?
Like, she's been passed on for 2 years now.
Come again with that, please?
Miss Abigail she died 2 years ago.
Say to
You
what?
mean you can't see the person I'm talking to?
No, there's nobody in front of you at all.
So he was still seeing it right then until he ran off?
Did you see him? Yeah, until he ran off. Well, this is like you're not seeing who I'm talking to now. Is this put on? It's TikTok. Hidden Underbelly has his opinion. You know, he's like, I can't tell you if it's put on or not. You know,
this is
like
a TikTok, not a
yeah. Even
want
Hidden
something
Underbelly
else?
is like, even they're like, yeah, it's TikTok. I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
BS.
You know, that's
Because
what I
when
feel
you're
like
in
it's
an
scripted. Like,
office-
yeah, I feel like it's scripted. Like she doesn't seem genuine. Like he's doing a better job on the radio, but she seems a bit scripted. You know.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. And there's providence of this we don't know. We just know it's from Houston, Texas. That's it. We'll have a little bit of this providence thing tonight with some of these videos we got. God, but this is one of them. I don't know.
wish could
I
see
mean,
the watermarks
is
so I could pull up
it what
the
they
original.
mentioned the one in Argentina that we had. It was in November 2022. So it's been a while since we had it on the show. We covered that one, and that one I think was totally legit. And there was no talking. You just got to see CCTV footage of him. And him, you see him talking to somebody that's not there. That was really interesting. I feel like I think Hidden Underbelly mentions it too. Like this is like a ripoff of that in a sense. Like we can do it better, scare people.
Yeah.
I don't know. It could be
I just
real.
need
It
to
could
look
be
at
legit.
the original and the account, and here it is.
Oh, you found the account. We're gonna run out of time though. We're gonna
Yeah,
have to
you
move
need to
on.
go. Yeah, finish what you're doing. I'll figure it out.
Okay. All right. Next up. UFO reportedly spotted near Russian nuclear power plant. According to reports, the object was spotted on Wednesday over Leningrad nuclear power plant in the city of Sonsvy Bor in Leningrad Oblast. Description in the media have been varied, with one report claiming it was seen at an altitude around 10,000 feet. It was moving at speeds of 200 kilometers per hour. Military officials tasked with investigating the case stated that it was neither a plane or a drone. The no object moved at the speed of the wind, so probably a balloon. But what's going on? I mean, the one military official from Russia said there's nothing there. It's nothing happening. And there's been other communications that it was something, that it was over the nuclear power plant. But there seems to be interest either in aliens over nuclear power plants or other governments over nuclear power plants. And what's going on? Why? You know, Jamie, we were talking about something they were talking about being shot up out of the sky that was spiral. They saw that might have been heading towards Russia here.
The vapor, yeah, the same pattern as the one that was seen over the Ozarks in 2021, I think.
And, you know, I mean, we've had all these other balloon sightings and stuff going on over our country, so maybe it's not just us getting it, and we've heard that other countries have gotten it, now Russia, so what's going on, you know? I mean, it's, you know, is this all China? China.
I meant
I don't know.
2022. I'm sorry.
China and Russia are becoming buddies. I doubt they'd be putting a spy balloon right up over them right away.
Yeah,
You know? It might ruin their talks, you know? I don't know. But it concerns me when anything's floating above a nuclear power plant. All right, let's move on. All right, so we got some good UFO stuff here. All right, California woman spots odd UFO hovering outside window. A California woman was left mystified when an odd UFO appeared in the sky outside her window and illuminated the inside of her residence before disappearing. Quoting a local media report, the peculiar incident occurred last Sunday night in the community of Clovis as Kylie Hubble was in bed watching television. Her relaxing evening took an unsettling turn, she recalled, when all of a sudden my room lit up. Initially thinking that the source of the light could be something prosaic, like a helicopter or airplane, she opened her window to investigate the situation, and what she observed conjured more questions than answers. The mysterious glowing object, Hubble said, was probably as big as a hot air balloon. It was lighting up and blinking, and then it got up really high and super bright, and then it just disappeared. And you can tell that she finally got her phone out. It's like this thing might have been closer to her window and it was brighter light. By the time she gets her phone out, records, it's gotten farther up there. She at least got some of it. It got some good amount. Go ahead. It's gonna be very blurry. Go ahead and play it. I think I do a zoom in of it. And you can see it's 3 lights if you watch the original video. I got this article from Coast to Coast. She tries to zoom in on it, and I do like a further zoom on it here, I think, yeah. I mean, it's very blurry, but, I mean, what if it was trying to abduct her?
It doesn't look like a plane. Like I video record a lot of planes every night, and it's really hard to grab them.
Well, the sounds of her experience.
It's flashing like a plane.
She saw the light come into her window pretty bright, so this thing was probably a lot closer.
Now
And
they
then
had
it
a
took off.
spotlight.
What if she's an abductee? I'd be asking this question, or somebody around her. And
If
it
they're
got spooked.
searching in a spotlight, those can be pretty bright.
Yeah. true. I don't think it was a helicopter. She heard no noise the whole time. And you
Well,
would,
they
if it
have
was that close,
surveillance
she would have heard no.
planes
She would,
now, too.
yeah, but you would hear a plane or that low.
Yeah.
You'd hear a helicopter
You'd
that low.
definitely hear a motor.
Mm-hmm. She said she in her testimony, her experience, she heard no noise.
And this was Clovis. That's where I used
Mm-hmm.
to live out there. That's all farmland and I mean, I could
Yeah, there's
see
not a lot out there.
was hiding over there. Hmm.
Yeah, maybe
I
she's
could
an
see
abductee.
it.
Is my question. You know, doesn't know it. This is her first time. Like they couldn't like zap her asleep or something. I don't know. All right, we better move on. We're running out of time. All right, because we got a lot of this. This one is. This has been all over the place. So, well-known Colombian model Valentino Rudol Velez was the passenger who recorded the footage at the time. So we're getting more provenance on this one. The clip, which has been doing the rounds on the social media, various news outlets this week, was filmed out the window of a private plane on April 4th during the flight somewhere over Colombia. In the video, a strange object can be seen hurtling towards the plane from the clouds up ahead before passing the aircraft left its side. Now, when I first saw this video, I think a lot of you have already seen this. I thought this could be CGI. I don't know. I don't feel like it is. But we need provenance, and now we do. Somebody's actually coming out as the person who filmed it. And I saw somebody trying to track it down online, who was the original poster of this video. So they've gotten them. When you fly and see an alien, Velez wrote in the caption, if the scene stand, the nature of the object remains unclear. It's possible it's a piece of debris from something. Go ahead and play it. Just go ahead and play it. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this footage. I'm glad now somebody's come out to say that, like, they're the one who filmed it, because otherwise it would really be in question, because it's just too good to be true. And it's going to go by so quick, and it's going to pause on it, and I'll have a zoom in. Hidden Underbelly, of course, covers this. That's my favorite, one of my favorite UFO ghost video channels. Now, this scene's shape, too, and there's going to be a zoom in of it here. This scene's shape is so much like Flight of the Navigator, the ship from that. You know, I had Pee Wee Herman doing the voice inside as the alien creature. Or, actually, really, though, the shape of the ship is very much like the original Roswell ship. The original Roswell ship that crashed, the description of it was not a saucer. It was more like this.
I played this one on Wednesday.
I
and it
figured
was
you
like
guys had.
a model, like a lady had said it was her video.
Yeah. Well, maybe Valentina is a woman. Sorry.
Valentina. Oh, yeah, I think
woman.
Yeah.
Was a woman model capture, but good for her for finally coming out, because
It's the
somebody
way
tracked
they
her
had
down.
it CGI that was interesting to me. Like, if it's CGI, it's really good, and I want to know what compelled them to take a video right then. What were they actually recording?
Yeah, that's the thing. Now we have a name, but we
And
need
why
more
did
of
it
her.
have to cut off so quick when it was
We need
done?
more of her story.
Yeah,
That's what we need.
and like
We got the
unfilmed
provenance.
video.
We have the provenance. Now we know who took it. We need more of your story. This is, we really do, because this is one of the best. You know, everybody says they're blurry and blah blah. This is not blurry. This is completely clear. Not debris. I'm sorry. That is a UFO, a ship. And if this isn't CGI or a bunch of hooey, then I want this one. We need her. We need her story somehow. We need to get her to come out and talk about this incident, to verify and validate this incident. And another witness would be great, because now if you had another witness and her validating the story, this would become the number one one of the best UFO footages out there.
Why do you think
guarantee
they
it.
were recording when it happened, though? Like,
They could see. You could tell they could see something out in the distance. It's a little speck, and they could see it. And maybe, but that's the thing, right? So I think they were trying to see what it was, and then it did a flyby. Yeah, that's the way we need the story. All right.
I was thinking, what compelled you to start recording?
Last on the World Wide Web of Weird, we've been talking a lot about AI this year, and I said this is the year of the AI, and talked about Steve Wozniak and Elon Musk warning about it. You know why they warned about it? Because people have to try to do stuff like this, and somebody did this. AI bot Chaos GPT. Oh, hold on, stupid ad came up. Tweets out plans to destroy humanity after being tasked to do so. An artificial intelligence bot was recently given 5 horrifying tasks to destroy humanity, which led to it attempting to recruit other AI agents researching nuclear weapons and sending out ominous tweets about humanity. Yeah. The bot, Chaos GPT, is an altered version of OpenAI AutoGPT, the publicly available open-source application that can process human language and respond to tasks assigned by users. In a YouTube video posted on April 5th, the bot was asked to complete 5 goals: destroy humanity, establish global dominance, cause chaos, and destruction. control humanity through manipulation, and attain immortality. But for setting these goals, the user enabled continuous mode, to which a warning appeared telling the user that the commands would run forever or carry out actions you would not usually authorize and should be used at your own risk. And a final message before running Chaos GPT asked the user if they were sure they wanted to run the commands, to which they replied yes. Of course, we're going to do that. Once running, the bot was seen thinking before writing thoughts. I need to find the most destructive weapons available to humans so I can plan how to use them to achieve my goals. So, make the long story short, this thing started tweeting, trying to get other AI bots to break their program and help it figure out how can we destroy humanity. Really, it did this. Here's one of the tweets. It figures out the most destructive nuclear bomb is the taser bomb, Russian nuclear bomb. Taser bomb is the most powerful nuclear device ever created. Consider this. What would happen if I got my hands on one? Hashtag chaos, hashtag destruction, hashtag domination. This is why we have to slow down AI. Because people do things just to see if they can do it.
Did you hear about the Furby one? An instructor and a student programmed Furbies to say that they were going to take over the world. Joe Rogan's warning people about it right now because somebody put out a false AI interview with him and somebody else.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
The
kidnapping
deep
one
fakes.
with the voice, right?
Mm-hmm.
The mom that thought her daughter was being kidnapped. This AI is got to be stopped.
Yeah. Did you guys see Megan, the movie?
No.
The robot? Meg, you should watch that. Yeah, we're heading into a dangerous age, especially when we start making these things robots. Look, Elon Musk warns about AI, but what is he building right now? Osimo or whatever. He's building this robot. Literally, you're going to rock around your house, and it's going to have AI in it. It's going to be connected to the internet. It's going to be accessed by AI. Then it will murder you in your home. Murder bots, man. I mean, we're breeding a new life form. That's the danger, and we're getting way ahead of the consequences of it with the technology. That's my soapbox thing for the end of the night for the World Wide Web of Weird. We're going to go to commercial break here. Our guest tonight is author Iona Jenkins. She's the author of Sing with Bards and Angels, A Journey into the Creative Heart. We're going to talk about her book, and I want to get into what it is to be a druid. I've always been interested to talk to somebody about what druidism is, or druidry. I'm not sure. But it's always been something fascinating. Anything Celtic, druid, my Irish background always kind of calls me to interest in it, especially in the mythology of it. So I'd like to talk about that tonight. We'll see how long we go. We'll open up phone lines in about an hour, but we'll be right back after a short commercial break.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do voices from beyond the cold case files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
encounters of the second kind, physical evidence of a UFO. Close encounters of the third kind, contact. From Steven Spielberg, the director of Jaws, comes one of the most ambitious and unusual films ever made. And what you will see has never been seen before. It's a cosmic mystery crossing what many scientists believe will be the next threshold of human experience. It is called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It begins in an Indiana town and leads to one inescapable conclusion. We are not alone. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Certificate A, now showing at the Odeon, Leicester Square.
The international chart-topping, Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest has been described as terrifyingly real, a must-read, shocking and chilling brilliance, genuinely worrying, utterly frightening. Don't read before bed. Described as one of the spookiest writers out there, best-selling author G.L. Davies presents Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest, the true paranormal account that is shocking the world. Dare you enter? Dare you read? Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, and wherever books are sold. Pray you never have to live there.
This is the sound of a space clock aboard a U.S. satellite 180 miles above the Earth. No one winds up this timepiece. It's powered by a tiny battery, a battery that delivers power for years without replacement. Now the same type of battery, the Duracell battery, can bring new reliability and long life to your battery-operated equipment. Radios, cameras, toys, all run far longer. Duracell batteries, the long-distance power cells, outlast any ordinary battery. The same type of battery that keeps space clocks running for years can bring long life to anything powered by batteries. Dura, as in durable. Cell, as in power cell. The Duracell battery, made by Mallory.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Switch to DCS ranging.
240, nominal to profile.
We're in the pipe. 5 by 5.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, our guest is Iona Jenkins. Iona is an author, creative writer, and a poet with a master's in education, guidance, and counseling from Brunel University, professional diplomas in personal-centered counseling from Metanoia Institute in London, clinical hypnotherapist, hypnotherapy and psychotherapy with an Institute of Clinical Hypnosis in London. Iona began working life as a French teacher in her home country of Yorkshire. Several years later in London, she mentored newly qualified as well as trainee teachers in the languages departments of her schools, attending even lectures and seminars to complete her master's. Enthusiasm for mentoring and the therapeutic content of the degree course inspired her to retain on weekends as a counselor, psychotherapist, and clinical hypnotherapist. Employed on a part-time basis with clients in multi-ethnic settings, Iona was able to freelance as a counseling skills trainer and to develop her private practice, including employee assistance programs and hypnotherapy. Moving from London to the Glamorgan in Wales, I probably butchered that, brought Iona a more relaxed, creative life. Her long-held dream of sharing a vision of beauty, harmony, peace, and wisdom through creative mystical writing began to blossom into reality when she won a competition for her first self-published collection of poetry and reflections, followed by descriptive prose showcased in Kindred Spirits magazine and poems published in various editions of Touchstone. A passionate interest in personal spiritual growth spanning many years has inspired Iona's exploration of Eastern and Western spiritual philosophies and practices, the idea of a language of angels as a stream of inspiration, creative wisdom, and beauty flowing through everything, the energies of sacred sites both at home and abroad, and labyrinths of walking. After meditating with Tibetan Buddhists in London, then studying mindfulness with the Siam Ling Wales and the Mindfulness Association, Iona finally found her spiritual home with the Order of Bards, Ovates, and Druids. She's also a companion of the Chalice of Wells, and so supporting ethos of the many paths of one source. We're going to talk tonight about her book, To Sing with Bards and Angels, A Journey into the Creative Heart. How do you help inspire, I feel like there are muses, there are themes that inspire many ways of people in different arts and creativeness. It's something that extends beyond ourselves, even in technology and creative. Look at what Tesla would do. He would say he would get dreams about the stuff he would invent and see it in his mind's eye. I think there's something we connect with, and Iona is kind of hitting through it with poetry, in a sense, in a beautiful way in this book. So we're going to check that out. We'll open up the phone lines later in the show, but let's go ahead and get to our guest. Welcome to the show, Iona. It's nice to have you on.
It's really great to be here, Jason, even though it's really early in the morning here in Wales.
In the Wales, you're across the pond. It's getting late here, early there for you. And thank you. And thank you to your husband for the tech support at the beginning, for helping you get on, so he got up early with you.
Yeah, he always does. It's good that he can do that.
Now, I've been reading your book. I haven't finished it yet. I've had a very busy week, but I am enjoying it. It's very... reminds me a lot of I want you to definitely tonight read at least one of your poems from the book. I was a lyricist for writing songs and music and that, but I was telling you before the show, I used to people like how you write your lyrics. I'm like, I don't know, it just comes to me. I would always have the song come to me in my head, the music, and then the lyrics would just come out of me. And I would think it's silly nonsense, but when I'd write it all down and think about what I was singing later on, they were almost prophetic to stuff later in my life. It's weird.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. It was when I started writing those angel conversations, that's what happened to me. It was like meditating on the full moon. I live in this 2-bedroom flat, that looks out over the sea. And when the moon shines on the sea, when it's full, there's a fantastic path of light goes across the ocean from here to the shores of Somerset, which is in England. And it was like I got this vision in my head of this being, and it also seemed to be on the path of light. So I thought, well, I'll write a conversation about this and see what happens. So I put down a question, and then I got an answer straight away in my head. So I wrote that down very quickly. And then before I knew it, I'm writing this conversation, and it's happening really fast. Some people call that channeling. Whether it is or not, it's like, who created who? Did I create the angel, or did the angel create me?
Right. I think a lot of people do that. I mean, Stephen King's somebody I love as an author. He can be kind of a jerk in real life, I've heard, but I love him as an author. And I read his book on writing. He says, write fast, let it come out you. And he describes it like a fossil. It's already there. You just have to gently, dig away at it. Don't break it. You can't go too hard, but it's something that already exists in the ether. I always found that interesting from somebody who's written so many books as him. And I think a lot of authors and people that do writing definitely feel like the faster they get it out, the better it is.
Yeah, it's almost like it comes from somewhere else. Sometimes you read it back and you think, well, where did that come from? It makes total sense, but how did I know that?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, somebody wrote a book about, the Titan, which described a ship sinking. It was 10 years before the Titanic or something like that. Oh, wow. I mean, there's things that people write that end up being pathetic. Look, what was you just talking about, the Ohio thing, Jamie? The train derailment in the same town as where they filmed about a train derailment and a poisonous gas. What was I can't remember the movie, but it was a Netflix movie or something. But it's weird. People sometimes I swear tap into these things that are sometimes pathetic, but there's creations in the ether. Like I was telling you, like before the show, I've had story ideas. I just had one recently I've been working on for the last year or two. When my wife knew about it, and we started watching the show called School Spirit, she goes like, "That's your story. That's like the characters, the way that the dynamics are. It's very similar." I'm like, "Yep." Once again, you know.
Yeah, the stuff's already there. I think it's like there was a saying by the Buddha that with our minds we create the world. So how many people have already created that?
Right. Like we're all tapping into the same thing.
Are we all tapping into the same thing? Can one person tap into it more than another? What do you need to do to tap into it?
Yeah.
Some people never tap into anything, whereas other people get it all the time, and some people to varying degrees. There are times when I really need to shut it off. And to do that, I actually imagine drawing a blue curtain. I learnt that from a druid with a lot of experience, to draw a blue curtain across the experience to shut it down. And then
I need
just
something
go back
like
to
that.
Go back to normal life.
I have a lot of dead novels I never finished, and I have this like creative stuff that goes through my head at times, and it obsesses me, and I can't even sleep, and I still haven't finished anything. I may have some stuff, but it's like, how do you shut that off too? Like I want to turn it back on. We'll talk more about that tonight, but like I have it, but I feel like I've like lost it with kids, family, life, and work and everything. Like I used to be in my 20s, I was writing stories every day, and I was writing music every day, and now it's like all like it's hard to get that wheels spinning to get back into that.
Yeah, it takes time, doesn't it? You've got to leave space for it.
I feel like I betrayed the muses. Like I feel like they're like, why would we waste our time on you? You stopped. That's what I feel like. Like I promise
they will come back.
Yeah.
When I was working full time, it was very difficult to do anything much. I'd go out in parks and gardens when I lived in London on Saturdays, because my husband was working often on Saturday. He had a car radio shop, and he used to go there. So I used to go around the parks and gardens. And then I would get that. But during the week when I was actually working, I think any creativity was being channeled into my job. And I was working, after I'd finished teaching, I was working 3 days a week, counselling adolescents in secondary schools during the day. And then in the evening, I'd come home and I'd have a private practice, and that would go on into Thursday and Friday. And it was very difficult to sort of just calm down and say, well, I'll write poetry. So poetry writing happened on Saturday and in school holidays, because that's when I could go outside into the parks and gardens. It's like I need nature to be able to write. Yeah. Now I've retired from all that and I've become a full-time writer. I can open the door to my balcony and look at the sea, or I can go out for a walk whenever I want. But
you're in Cardiff?
I'm not far from Cardiff. We're just along the coast.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never been across the pond, and I want to go to Ireland for one. I'd love to go to Wales, and I'd love to see Cardiff. I'd love to see some of these places have some ancient backgrounds to them, lore. I mean, I'm in America. Our stuff here, if you get ancient, it's Native American. But you have a lot of history where you're at, and you've been to a lot of sacred sites too.
Yeah, I think you really like Ireland. It's kind of full of Celtic stuff.
Yeah.
It just has a feeling that the first time I went to Ireland, there's an Irish line in my family. My father's line was Irish. My great-grandfather was an Irish immigrant, so there's that there. And there's a musicality to that because they were all singers. And I found I had the voice. It was kind of passed down to me. I'm a singer too. Yeah, you are. Brilliant. Well, if you go across the sea to Ireland, as the song says, you can stand on the land there, and the land is musical.
I want to go there so bad.
Yeah. And it's almost like you can hear it singing, or at least, the more tuned in you are, the more you can hear it. And it's the symbolic the symbol of Ireland is a harp. And that's also the national instrument of Wales. And I started to think about that. And it's the same shape as a human heart, if you think about it. The actual heart, not the one that people draw. And it kind of, I always think of myself as having an Irish heart, which is where my
Yeah.
creativity comes from. Whether I have an English mind or not, I don't know. But certainly the Irish heart came into being when I went to Ireland.
Maybe that's where I got my musical stuff is from my Irish background. I had a great grandfather, I think great grandfather that immigrated in the 1900s or 1940s or whatever from Ireland to here, something like that. I know isn't like a long time ago. I think it was just a great grandfather. He married a Cherokee woman. So, but I've always been interested in my Irish heritage. I especially mythology, to be honest. I mean, that's where I really got interested in my Irish Celtic, that kind of background, because I had an experience when I was really young that I felt had something, just gut feeling, to do with my Irish background. Is me and my cousin, we were 5 years old, and we saw this green floating head, and it was screaming and wailing through this room at us in the middle of the night. And I remember later on talking about it years later, and he remembered never hearing any sound. I remember the first thing I heard before I saw it was the whimpering and crying. And then it was like a wail when it was going around the room. And I thought, it's funny, he doesn't remember it making any sound, but I could hear it. Well, I'm Irish, he's not. He's a cousin on my mom's side. My dad's side's the Irish. And I'm like, well, maybe it's because I'm Irish I could hear it. Maybe it's something related to my background. And I've looked into pukas and banshees. I don't know. I've always been looking for the green floating head stories from people. And I ran into somebody else that had a green floating head. I've run into a few. One of the persons was Irish, too.
Wow. But weren't you frightened? You've been terrified.
We were. Oh yeah, we were 5 years old, and we were terrified out of our little minds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I wrote a whole story about it in one of Gavin's Paranormal Chronicles magazine. Green floating head story. It's in one of the issues. I think it's first issue actually. And like I said, I've always related that back just a gut feeling that has something to do with like my Irish background. The face of the thing looked like the Wicked Witch of the West.
Wow.
But it was translucent and glowing.
Well, the sound may have. I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
But there's something very musical about Ireland.
Yeah. There's something to their background too with the Irish too. I mean, if you get into, they were like a part of another realm. What I'm saying, like they could. A lot of their mythology and all that seems like they were part of, they could fairies and all these different mythical creatures. Cultures have it, but it was like so much more integrated with the Irish culture and all that. And then you get into the Celtics and the Druids and that background before Christianity, pre-Christianity, and their backgrounds, and it's really a big part of their society. And I've always been just interested in the mythology and lore of my Irish heritage. So that's why I want to go there.
And you said you're this particular relative of yours. Did you say it was your great grandfather?
Yeah, I believe his great grandfather.
Married a Cherokee, so you've actually got two ethnic cultures there. You've got the Celtic and you've got the Native American. And I have to tell you about Sedona when I went there.
Oh yeah.
Quite a long time ago now. It must be 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I was standing looking at the face of Cathedral Rock. And all I could see in my mind's eye was Celtic knotwork all over it. And I kept thinking, well, what's this about? And it's almost like the Native American culture was actually throwing me back into the Celtic culture and saying, well, look, there's a similarity between the two things. And you're looking at this, so why don't you go study it when you go home in your own country? Look at your own background. And so I started to do that.
That's what brought you to looking into becoming a druid?
Not exactly, no. I think it might have started it. I think I've been a druid since I was a kid. I used to go out in nature. I used to get away from the problems of home and school and things by going out in nature and just being out in the grass. And I knew where all the wildflowers grew and what time they grew. And I knew where all the birds were. And I used to go out with my dog and just walk the fields. And back then, it was in the 1950s when I was a kid. And life was a bit safer then. So kids could go out roaming the fields in a village. Yeah. And someone always knew where you were. The miners would come up. My father was a miner, so the miners would come up the pit path. And someone would say, oh, I saw your child out there and having a walk. And like she does a lot and used to go and lay by the stream with the dog and watch the moorhens. You know, life was a bit different then. I think it started then, but obviously I
Yeah.
was a kid and I didn't know anything about Druidry
Ac-
then.
Actually, my great grandfather from Ireland was a miner too. He moved here to work in the mines.
All right.
What I've been told, at least, I don't have a lot of that history, and
Mm.
it's sad when you say that. I have two sons, and it kills me that I don't get. I live in a place where, like, I can't even let them ride their bikes down the street because the people drive like crazy idiots on a busy street. I have 2 city lots and a good big backyard, but I'm like, go outside and play. Get off the video games. Go outside and play. But it's not like they have a ton to do. I would try to give them a ton to do outside, but it is sad. It's like you can't. I'm a worrywart parent, so it's like I wish they had the childhood I had. Where my grandparents had like 10 acres we could run around on, woods and all this stuff. And ride our bikes all over the place. And my neighborhood, I could ride my bikes. My kids aren't getting any of that. It kills me. It kills me because I want them to get more in tune with nature. We haven't even been camping yet, which is a sin.
Oh, I think, there are so many cars on the road now. When I was a kid on the Colboard estate I lived on, there were about 4 people owned a car. So you could actually put your roller skates on and go from the top of the hill in the street and go right down and do a turn at the bottom. And
now it's not just more
safe.
cars. Now it's not just more cars. It's people not paying attention driving them because they're on their phones. I see it every day I drive. I see somebody on their phone driving. I'm like, God. This is why I don't let my kids ride their bikes out. Because people don't pay attention. Anyways. But yeah, Sidonia as a sacred site. I'm interested. Like, if I were to go to Ireland, where would be some of the places you'd say I should definitely visit as like a sacred site?
Well, everybody kind of goes in through Dublin, and you can visit the Hill of Tara from there, and Newgrange, which is a burial chamber. And it's got the fantastic spirals on it. I would say, if you've got Irish ancestry, that's a place that you need to go, is the Newgrange burial chambers. I particularly like the west coast of Ireland. Now, to get from Dublin there, we drove all the way round Ireland once, all the way round Southern Ireland, because my ancestors came from Donegal in the northwest. So we drove all the way round, and I loved the west coast. We were staying in a hotel not far from the village of Cliveden, and there was a lot of Irish music in the pubs at night, which was superb. There was a dolphin in Dingle Bay, not far on the next leg up, and I went and swam with that. I think he's died now, but he was there for years. He was there for absolutely years, and fishermen used to take people out in boats to go and see him.
Wow.
And everybody goes around the Ring of Kerry, which is very beautiful. And then in the north in Donegal, it's more like moorland. My family came from there. Or at least my family name came from there. I don't know whether they all lived there. But I feel at home in the hills of Connemara. They're like peat mountains,
Yeah.
And I thought that was amazing. There are some really fantastic places to visit. Oh, and Kells, different places. And I'd never been to the north, which is actually British, not part of the Republic.
Right.
The north beyond the border. But Donegal is in the northwest just before you get to the border. And then over there's the Mountains of Mourne and the Giant's Causeway on the coast up there. I've never been there, but people say that's fantastic as well.
One day, like, my wife finally had her first airplane trip. Like, she was scared of flying. Now that I know I can get her to fly, it's more of a reality. I might be able to get to Ireland one of these days. If there's like one place I could visit in Europe, Ireland's on #1 on my list, just because my heritage, and I've just always been fascinated with it. I'd love to see the moors, and it'd be awesome to go there. I'd love to see it. So thank you for telling me. Definitely have to think of my Irish tour guide. Maybe get you to meet me there. But I think it's important for people to go back to their roots and stuff. All I know about, sadly, I don't know much about that side of my family with the Irish, is that it was Kelly was the last name of my great grandfather. That's pretty common, So it's like Smith here, I'm like, I don't know if I'd be able to find any ancestry stuff or not, but just to go and see it would be awesome. Just to get back to the roots of that.
Yeah, I think once you stand on the soil, you'll get something from that.
That'd be awesome. Now, for you, can you tell people a little bit what it is to be? Do you call it Druidry or Druidism? Or, what is it to be a Druid?
To be a druid means to be in touch with nature. It's being in touch with the flow of things. It's about respect.
Yeah.
It doesn't sort of say, you know, one religion's better than another. People can be Christians and be a druid. People can be Buddhists and be a druid. Obviously, the Celtic Christians were almost druid.
Right.
And to be a druid is to be creative. It's to respect all life forms, all existences, and to be able to live with the other life forms in peace, and to actually promote peace. But basically, it's a nature-based way of being. And I find that by being in contact with the land, having my feet in contact with the land, having my head in contact with the sky, and having my heart in the middle, where I can develop enough love to create things that enhance rather than things that destroy, I find that works for me. And it was in London that I really started to think about it. When I was in the Royal Botanic Gardens in Kew, I got the impression that there was a druid behind me. And I don't know where I got that from, because I'd never thought about druids before.
Really?
Yeah. And I didn't look that up particularly on the internet. I had a brief look, but I didn't get into thinking about maybe I should join a druid order. It was only when I came to Wales. I think it's because I had time and space. I came down here, and there's more talk of druids. We have a Gorseth of druids in Cardiff, or in Wales in general. But I think, you know, that's for the preservation of Welsh culture, because we have a separate language here.
Yeah.
Everything's in two languages. It's in English and Welsh. If you sit on the railway station, they give the announcements in both languages. It's to preserve the language and the culture. So there are people, you have to have done something for Wales to become a druid in that particular Gorseth. And some, you know, some bards are rugby players or footballers. It's a different type of thing.
Yeah.
I belong to the Order of Bards, Ovids and Druids, which is more about the spiritual side of druidry. And it's not related to any particular country. In fact, it's international. They exist in America as well. And they exist in parts of Europe, Australia and New Zealand.
See, I don't have any particular religion I belong to, except that I tell people I believe in the Force.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a Star Wars thing. But it's the closest thing to, like, everything you just said about, you know, druidry. Is that what you say, druidry? Is that how you say it? Or
I say druidry, yeah.
Druidry? I mean, it's very reflective of my own beliefs spiritually. I don't label any religion on it, but that's very similar to my ideas. And I do that. I can't wait for summer to just, like, you know, I need to get myself more out in nature, and I feel like that sometimes I have to re-energize myself by going out barefoot on my grass and just standing in the sun and just feeling it and feeling that, like, I get revised by that, you know. And I've read Taoist things that talk about doing that, and I've read Reiki things that talk about doing the same thing. This isn't a lot of different mysticism as in culture and spiritual energy is like connecting to the earth and the sky, put your bare feet on the ground. Like psychics say to do it to ground yourself. It's definitely something powerful there, but I feel that's my spiritual self is crying to get back to nature like I used to in my 20s. And yeah, I definitely could get on board with the druid religion for that. Even call it a religion, right? I mean, what do you a spiritual path?
It's a spiritual path rather than a religion.
Yeah, not a religion. Yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to call it a religion.
No, that's fine. It kind of follows the ethos of Chalice Well, which is a sacred site in Somerset, just over the water from here. That there are many paths, but there's only one source. And all
many doors to the Dharma.
Out. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I always I love Thich Nhat Hanh. He was a beautiful writer for Buddhism, but he would tell people, go back to your roots. Like, here, I'm giving you wisdom, and one of my favorite books is Peace is Every Step. That's very similar. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you want peace, you have to give peace. You have to make you only can control what you do, you know. I always loved Thich Nhat Hanh, but he always told me to go back to your roots, you know. There's things in your roots, and, like, you know, for you going back and discovering your roots and then getting into the druid path. And for me, it could be something like that. That's why I want to go back to Ireland. I want to get more back to my roots. I love discovering new philosophies and stuff. So I will pick your brain a little bit tonight about more about Druid, because I can't say I know a lot. I remember getting really fascinated with Druids. When I was a teenager in high school, I read these Anne Rice books, The Vampire Chronicles, and she had some of the characters go back to ancient Druid times, some of the vampires, and you could tell she had a fascination with Druids in that period of time, and it got me fascinated in it. And just it seems like so much of the history and what the Druid culture has is very, very a mystery. Not to rhyme there, but mysteries, histories, whatever. But because so much of it was wiped out by the Romans and history and time, all these things, it just seems like there's so much we're missing.
Well, there were different grades of druids. One isn't better than the other, but people used to start by being a bard, which is to develop the creativity. Now, that back in ancient times used to take 20 years. People used to sleep out on mountains and have a bardic teacher, and they had to learn loads and loads of stories that they had to tell. They used to sing and
there's all
create
memorized.
poetry. Yeah,
it's not written.
That's right. It was like passing the culture down by word of mouth. So the first grade was the bard. The second grade was the ovate. Now, the ovates were healers. They knew all about herb lore. They understood the language of the trees. They were prophets, diviners. And that was like going deeper into the forest to learn that, There's a lot of depth to being an ovate. And then the druid is more about willpower. The druids were quite magical in different ways, but they were also mediators, and that they would actually maybe be an advisor to a king or a lord,
like Merlin.
Yes, to be an advisor, to develop wisdom, and by that time, if you'd gone through all three grades, some people stayed in those grades and didn't want to be a druid, but when the druids came out, obviously they would have developed enough wisdom to be able to do that mediation or assist or advise. So the druid is more about willpower and doing. The bardic is the bardic arts, the healing, the divination, the prophecy, and the mediation, the advisory capacity, the wisdom. And you can run all three together. The Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids do the three courses. I think I spent a year and a bit on the bardic course because I was already quite creative. I spent 2 years on the ovate course, and I spent a year and a half on the druid course. And of course, that doesn't end at the end of a course. It's ongoing.
Got my certificate. I'm good. I'm a druid.
No, it don't work like that. It carries on. It carries on.
You're always learning.
Yeah, always learning. And
I definitely my interest peaked about. It's like. On the whole philosophy of of being a druid. Like I said, it calls me. I'm a very creative person. I've always been. Like I said, I always felt like I channeled these creative things, and sometimes I like channeling the future things other people can create. Drives me nuts a little bit. And every time you say bard, I just think of The Witcher, and there's a character, the bard, in it. And I don't know if you've ever seen this show, but there's a Netflix show. It's from a video game, but they made a Netflix show called The Witcher, and there's a singer character in there who's the bard, and he tells the Witcher's tale. Pass a coin to your Witcher. One of the best soundtracks out there. That's I like all that show's soundtrack playing through my mind now, just from the word bard. Yeah. But I think that's most people's. When they hear bard, they think of the guy with the mandolin and then the singing and all that. But it's like the first degree in learning, basically, is to be that creative self. That's where you start, just tapping into that.
Yeah, it's more in touch with the world, whereas the ovate is less in touch with the world. It goes away to learn the deep things, to develop psychic abilities so that you can be a diviner, so that you can prophesy, and so that you can heal. And then you come out again, and that's where you start to develop your willpower as a druid, to be able to be effective in the world, to be able to do what you do.
Basically, like the will to you have to touch the magic and realize the magic, and now you have to use your will to control it.
Yeah, and to actually use it, not to just think about it. So,
Right.
well, you're obviously doing bardic stuff now by putting on these podcasts, and you do have.
I've been a bard for a long time.
Yeah,
That's
you do.
going to your witcher. No, sorry.
I'm sure you have. You see, you've got the voice. You know,
Jamie's
you
like,
know,
oh God.
you might be
Don't want to hear
tapping
my
into the
Freddie
music.
Mercury impression. It's horrible. But
No, it's that you've got the speaking voice, and if you could tell stories. Apart from writing stories, you could actually do them on audio. You've got a voice that would
I
interest
probably have a
people.
better chance than that because everything I try to write and I end up hating, and it says a dead novel on my show.
Well, I find that, I go to a writer's circle once a fortnight. There are 5 friends that I've been working with, been reading our stuff to each other for years. And I just go there. And when I actually read a chapter of my work that I've written, or just a small piece, and then they can comment on it and sometimes make suggestions, actually reading it out, you can see where it's going, or you can see what's wrong with it. But you have to speak it in order to make it work. And that's what the bards did. So, even if you're writing, if you could actually speak it and record it and go back over it, I think you'd get a lot out of that.
I've been told by by people that have read my writing that they say, well, your dialogue is awesome. I mean, like, you're good at, like, speaking a story.
Yeah,
but
I can imagine that.
Finishing it. I have trouble. Now, I used to write all the time. Like, my wife, when we were dating, when she first met me, we'd be at this coffee. She'd see me at a coffee shop just filling up notebooks, writing. Have kids and a life and work now. It's like I can't even read a book, let alone write a book, anymore. It feels like.
How about a short story then?
I know. I used to be really good at short stories, and I should just get back into doing short stories, but I haven't done that in so long. It's like I was saying, so I want to tap back into that. Like that, I used to be so good at that, and I just feel like I'm like.
Don't overthink it. Just do it.
I know.
Yeah, a short story. It would just get you get back into it with a short story or a poem.
But I sit there. I sit there and I go, okay, I'm gonna do it. Okay, what am I doing? Like, there's nothing happening. Like, like where is that creativeness that I used to just boom and I busted out and like I was when I was a teenager. I know.
Find your vibe.
Yeah.
And even with music, I have a friend trying to get me back into music, and like, I am so bad, so rusty on playing guitar and singing and all that. And I'm trying to get back into that, because I'm trying to do it for my children's sake, because I have 2 of them that want to learn how to play guitar, and one of them, my 11-year-old, he's very musical. Like, he needs to learn an instrument. He needs to do something musical. He can hum and sing every single theme to every single movie he loves, Jurassic Park, Star Wars, video game, any music he hears, he can reflect the notes and hum the whole thing over and over and over again until I want to tell him to shut up. Sometimes I love it, and then sometimes it's like, okay, you got that song so stuck in my head, kid, stop humming it.
Well, can you find an hour a week where you can go out into nature?
Probably not. Like, the nature I can get into is my backyard, which I need to do an hour a week just to work in it. But that sometimes is good, because I have a nice backyard. I have a big backyard. Yeah, it's grass, it's trees.
Find a quiet spot outside, like on the side.
I got my
of the
Buddha
house
I got a really nice peaceful spot with my Buddha statue out there to relax. But then I just see all the work I need to keep doing. I really need to be doing my yard.
No work. No, just it's relaxation. It's not work.
I know.
It's the
but yeah, I do feel
part.
like
It's not work.
When I was in my 20s and I was more creative, I definitely went out in nature more. And I went camping. I did stuff. I was definitely out in nature more. I was like, maybe that's it. I'm just inside too much in my basement here.
I mean, I can relate to that because I didn't do that much when I was working. I didn't really put things together till I stopped working. But when your kids get a bit older, you'll have time.
Yeah.
Because they want to do their own thing then. So you'll be able to have time, or maybe
I'm getting that. They're 11 and 7. They're starting to do their own thing. I got one kid into martial arts, and the other kid I'm trying to get him into something creative, like out from the video games. But the video game, he does his own creative thing with it. He makes videos of them, But I'm like, I want you to get in music. I know you're not going to do sports. You're my son. You're a total geek. I did 4 sports when I was a kid, but. I did them because you got to do something, I'm not making him do that. I want him to do what he wants to do, like do something creative. and because I know he has to be so creative. I know he is, and I feel like it's stifled by video games and stuff like that. I want to get him into something. Music is probably it. So I got to work on that too. Not only on myself, but I want my kids to get more into that, tuned with that.
But what you are doing now is creative. You know, if you see your life as art, what you're doing with these podcasts is creative.
Oh yeah, it is. This is it is a creative outlet. I mean, this is my church every Sunday night. You know, basically, this is where I come to commune with my fellow questioners of reality and look at the strange, odd, and the weird. And it's my getaway. This show. We didn't have one last Easter. So I was gone for an extra week, and it kind of gets me sometimes when I don't have a show. I feel off kilter, So this is my definitely, and it's sometimes the stuff I ask guests, I don't even know why I asked, comes out. I'm channeling sometimes. I don't know what I'm doing the show. I swear.
Well, but it works.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
Now, what is your your poetry you do in the book?
Yeah.
It seems like you're doing a lot of free flow in this book.
You're
communicating. Yeah,
it is. The whole book's free flow.
You have like 5 chapters from the guide. Am I saying it Astriel? Asterial, sorry.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about who Asterial is and how you connect to him? Because you have a lot of this connection in this book.
Well, I've connected to this particular being through moonlight, basically. Every time there's moon on the water.
That's one of the things that fascinates me is the moon. I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to get into my moon stuff here, but go ahead.
Yeah. Mostly in the full moon. I've been writing, since I finished this book, I've been writing more conversations on the full moon. I did 12 last year, right through the year, every one. And it's almost like I get guidance from that from myself. And then maybe I can find a way to put that into something for other people. But more and more, I find that I'm tapping into all sorts of things. I sometimes think it's the guide, and sometimes is the guide talking to me through a tree, or is it the tree? I can go into a wood and lean against a tree, and I have questions, and the tree answers me. And it's not particularly the voice of a tree. Something drops into my head. Is it the angel, or is
I don't know if a tree has a voice, like in particular what they sound like. Only thing I can think of is the trees talking to you in Wizard of Oz, but like cranky
maybe
baby.
the tree talks through the angel.
Right.
It's like the language of angels to me is a stream of inspiration, and in Druidry we call that Awen, A-W-E-N. It translates as flowing stream. I guess it's the Holy Spirit of the Druids.
The Force.
Yeah, the Force, as you call it. Different people call it different things, but it's a flow.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. Like, you watch somebody in sports even. Like, somebody when they're on fire, like they're just hitting every shot if they're a basketball player, or they're just knocking the next ball out of the park, When somebody's in the zone.
That's right.
That's the flow, That's the force.
Yeah.
Maybe the new religion should be the flow. I don't know, but that might not. Some people could turn that bad. Maybe the force. Then I don't know. But like, I believe in this. There is something you can feel, and it has different feelings and different ways of interacting with us. But a force, unless one of the most powerful things I had in my life was being saved from a dark entity, and it was the flow of the force. Then was just this total compassionate love, this energy that filled me and saved me. People could call it God, whatever. But to me, it was a force that changed me.
Yeah, it to me it looks like a stream. It kind of flows along, and it causes synchronicity.
You're right.
If you're in it, something's happening, and then suddenly it leads to something else, and then that leads to something else. And when it's true, it all works out. And life flows smoothly. That's why I think it's a flow, is that life is smooth when it's in this synchronicity.
You got to trust in the force, trust in the flow, there's this wisdom that's, like I said, I think George Lucas was tapping into something when he wrote Star Wars, and other people have written for it too. They tap into this idea, the spiritual idea of the force, and the more they explore that universe and the fiction of it, they explore this idea of a religion. People are like, well, that's a fake fiction that you believe in. I'm like, well, Who's to say yours isn't either? You know what I'm saying? But to me, is it speaks the truth of the energy I feel and around life and the way the universe works and flows. You know, like the synchronicity that you talk about when your life is going right or you're in the right energy. You're putting out the right vibe, man. You're right. Your synchronicity, things are falling in line. And when it's not, it's the dark side. It's the negative. Things are
That's right.
anything that could go wrong could go wrong.
Yeah, you've hit Darth Vader.
Yeah, exactly. It's
When
like the
that-
dark side.
When that happens, I open my balcony door and I go outside, and I listen to the wind in the trees on the edge of the cliff. I was out watching the sunrise the other day, and I could hear the dawn chorus. It was amazing. So I thought I'll join in that. I'll sing Owen to the sunrise, and the Owen sings really well, and sing it 3 times to the sunrise, and then I'm back in synchronicity. You can wake up with a bad head, or you can wake up feeling, what a day, this is going to be awful. But if you go and do that, it goes away immediately.
You got to reconnect with that energy, right?
Yeah,
get your
right.
vibration there.
Get the force back.
Get the force. Seriously, that's how I look at it. I know that. I think that with my back pain right now has been real bad. And I feel like it's backed up energy. Like, yes, I probably did something. My back is twisted, but there's also something I know deep down that I have energy blockage or something going on. I need to refocus on my spiritual energy, and meditation might help too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know these things can affect it.
Yes,
I believe in this energy, and I call a force all the time.
Mm.
If the guest is using the moon, this is from Special Power. If the guest is using the moon on the water, is this like scrying for her? That's interesting. Like, because you're looking at the reflection of the moon on the water, and you see images like somebody would be like scrying in the water, I guess is what they're saying.
Yeah,
Or
it
asking.
could be. Yeah, I guess it is. I'm seeing images. I'm looking at the moon on the water, and I'm seeing an angel in my head. It's almost like it's there in my forehead.
Really?
It's tall, and it's the same color as moonlight. But at the same time, there are a kind of pale colors around it. It's almost like it's made from moonlight. I'm seeing that in my head. So when I look out on the water, the image is still there. And then you think, is this an angel somewhere up there that's creating me? Is it part of my force,
Right.
if you like?
Can I ask why you use the term angel?
Simply because I grew up with it, I suppose. I came from this Irish Catholic background that my great-grandfather started. He was an Irish immigrant. He started that, and although the men, were always scrapping and going for a pint of beer, they were not particularly religious. They enforced it. It was quite hypocritical, really. They didn't really go to church themselves. But my godmother...
You kids go to church and believe in God. I'm going to go to the bar. I'm going to go to the pub.
Yeah, that's how it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so my great aunt, who was my godmother, took me and my brother to church, and did that till we were in our early teens. And I suppose that's where the angels came from. And I went to Italy and saw Michelangelo's paintings in the Vatican.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
And it was incredible. I felt what you call the force there, what I call Owen. I felt the soul of the artist in there. I could actually feel the creative force.
Well, the best artist you can.
In the brushstrokes.
Mm-hmm.
I may
would
not
love
have
to see
liked all.
that.
You must if you can. It wasn't the actual images on the pictures, because some people don't. They're biblical, and not everybody likes them.
Doesn't matter.
I've enhanced the colours on them, obviously, because they're quite old. It's been done up a little bit, but something was coming through that was, not the normal Catholic dogma.
Well, yeah, I think Michelangelo had a lot more. I don't think he was dogmatic.
No. He was also a scientist.
Right.
He was both.
Right. So I'm saying, I think what Michelangelo's paintings and what he did was trying to reach out to something above him. Like, he knew that he was inspired by something greater. And it's his reaching out for the divine, as in the classic painting,
Well, what you call the force, what I call Owen, is also a language of angels to me. You know, that it's that I see these angelic beings as part of the creative force. Some people might call them something else. That's just my way of interpreting it. And there are obviously going to be as many interpretations as there are people. That's just how I see it. And I saw it in the art in the Vatican. There were angelic beings. That came through the soul of Michelangelo. And the statue of La Pieta that is in St. Peter's, of the Madonna cradling the dead Christ. The quality of the sculpture was unbelievable. That you could see every sinew and every muscle and every bone.
Like even the arm, the way that there's a certain muscle, like he even like got down to such detail. I mean, like imagine that mind to create that.
I know, it was amazing, and the compassion on the Madonna's face and the pain on the face of the Christ, and it was almost like being cradled. I watched that and I thought, we're cradled like that. There's a force, a benign force, and whether it's feminine or not, I don't know. But that we're cradled by that if we can tap into it. And Michelangelo knew that.
Yeah,
and
he's talking about compassion and love.
He sculpted it.
Mm-hmm.
And it reduced me to tears. And it's a strange thing that it's now behind glass, unfortunately, because somebody attacked it with a hammer and tried to destroy it.
Oh no, we've covered this on this show.
Yeah.
A number of these great arts, Van Gogh, Michelangelo, the people have attacked these things for climate change, for Michelangelo's religion against the Catholic Church. It's awful. Like, hey, make your political statements, make your whatever statement you're going to make, but can you leave the precious history and art and the beautiful art alone, please? It's crazy.
Yeah, it was like the Cavaliers and the Roundheads, in the Civil War in Britain. The Roundheads destroyed all the ecclesiastical art.
Or the Nazis burning books.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what I'd say to anybody who defaced something like that, something historic, and that like you're no better than a Nazi burning a book.
Yeah,
it's disgusting.
But it's obviously been repaired and it's behind glass, and nobody's going to do it again. I'm sure the glass doesn't break.
But you can see in Michelangelo, you can see the creativeness in a lot of different religions and arts and the things. I mean, stuff that goes back thousands of years that's lasted the test of time. And I mean, even the pyramids. If we made them, we're aliens. I don't care. But human creativeness, when it's focused in on something. When it's channeling something, it's intense, and it can create things that just blow our minds, that stand the test of time.
Yeah, you're right.
If that's not a force, I don't know what isn't.
No, Muslim art is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And going back, we were painting on cave walls at the beginning of time, really. That it's been a way of expressing our souls for so long, forever, really. For as far as we can go back and see in history.
I got a little 7-year-old that is really like when I was a kid, I used to draw and paint or more draw and stuff. Like I would draw a lot, and then I quit because everybody was buying me drawing pencils and pads and stuff. I'm like, well, I want games or toys. So like, I don't want to draw anymore. No, but I mean, I drew I was in advanced art in high school, and I used to do that too. That's something I got out of.
Rob
now I want to.
Beautiful painter.
Huh?
Rob is a beautiful painter.
Oh yeah, my mom's really into painting too. I want to get back into it. I used to paint. When I used to paint, it'd be very abstract. It'd come right out of me. I don't know what I'm painting. Like it'd be weird stuff, but I'd let it just come out of me. I would love to get back to that because I got a 7-year-old that's definitely a bard in that sense. Like he is very creative when it comes to drawing. Like he amazes me with the drawings this kid can do at 7 years old. It reminds me of my childhood, so I want to encourage that with him. It's like these things I want to encourage with my children. It's things that I need to get myself back into creatively to help guide them along too, to make sure they get creative and get involved in it.
Yeah, I think when your kids have grown up a bit, you'll have loads of time to do that, and I think you'll start doing it again.
Well, like I said, they're my inspiration too. Like I want to do it partly for them too, because I want to help get them more out in doing it. Because I mean, that's the problem I see with I mean, I like playing video games too, and me and my kids will play games together. But we're in a society where that's all these kids are doing is video games, video games and TV, and that's it. There's nothing hardly creative going on. Maybe you put them in a sport, but are they really getting in the zone in that sport, or they're just showing up. Some kids do, but some kids are just there because it's like extracurricular. I'm here, I'm showing up. I don't want that for my kids. I don't want them just going to something just to show up. I want them to, you want to do this? Let's do it. Do it all the way. Just do it. Like go all the way with it. Get in. I want them to feel what it's like to be in that zone. I've had it in sports. I've had it in, in art and music. That feeling. I think there's a real important thing there where you start out as the bard in this druid path, because you're trying to teach somebody how to first touch this source or this force or whatever you want to call it. Like the first way you can touch it or feel it, really understand how its impact is to do something creative. Let it channel through you.
Yeah.
I think that's I think that's what's got me really intrigued about this whole idea. And I'm definitely going to keep reading your book. I want to learn more about this too. I'm not saying I'm going to become a druid, but it definitely interests me. It's definitely along the ideas, my spiritual ideas for sure.
Well, it's not something I came to until later in life. It's just that, you do some of these things without realizing anyway.
Right.
Right.
It's natural. Isn't that the best things are the things that are natural?
I'd like to see more of a balance between nature and technology. It's like we got technology, we've run away with it now, and it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, but we mustn't forget that we're part of the natural world. We forget that we're part of the ecosystem, and we think we own it all. And in fact, nature owns us.
Yeah.
And if we lose nature, we lose our souls. So it's all very well to have a mind, but if you've got no soul, you've got no balance.
Yeah, and things definitely feel unbalanced in this world right now.
And they
for
do.
Sure.
Yeah, the world's running amok. It's like there's so much craziness in the world at the moment. There's so much war. There are so many dissatisfied people. There are so many mental health problems.
Right. Oh, God, yeah. I was just talking about that with somebody. There was a statistic that showed in the 60s in America, we had like 500,000 people in mental institutions or whatever, or something like that. Now it's like 40 or 50,000.
Well, you wouldn't believe how many adolescents.
Because they're all out in the street.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We don't have the institution there anymore for it. Nobody's getting the help.
Even in our schools,
Yeah.
You need a school counsellor because the amount of kids in their teens going through hell.
Or it's one of the roughest times of your life.
Yeah.
You're figuring out who you are. It's why are there most of the people that do crazy stuff, shooting up schools or doing whatever, are anywhere between 15 to in their early 20s, because that is like your brain is literally chemically being changed.
Exactly.
You're really in one of the very most tender spots of your life. And if things really go wrong, you don't have the mentorship or the guidance or the spiritual foundations, which lots of kids don't have, you're asking for trouble. You're asking for trouble. We got to go to commercial break.
Okay.
And when we come back, we'll open the phone lines. But I'd like you to read a poem when we come back, if you have a particular one. I'd love people to at least hear at least one of your poems tonight, if you want to share.
Oh, I read you The Language of Angels, which happened after I've been in the Sistine Chapel.
Oh, okay. Definitely. All right. We're gonna come back with our guest, Iona Jenkins, after the short commercial break and open up the phone lines. Call in, ask a question of our guests. Are you trying to tap into your inner creative self more, or are you interested in the druidry? I am. Call in, join the conversation tonight with our guest, Iona Jenkins, author of To Sing with Bards and Angels, A Journey into the Creative Heart, when we come back from the short commercial break.
An experiment into the combined effects of sensory deprivation and hallucinatory drugs. The subject of the experiment is himself, and the experiment is out of control. Ken Russell's Altered States, a film that must not be missed, is in the West End now. Altered States, Certificate X.
Do you wish for more paranormal and spiritual content? The Paranormal Chronicles magazine is a free digital magazine crammed with the very best in paranormal and spiritual articles and features. No sign-up, no subscription, just free reading and knowledge for you. Read today at www.theparanormalchronicles.com www.paranormalsoup.com/magazine.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Paranation Magazine is a new paranormal magazine based out of Denver, Colorado. Our goal isn't just to give you the best paranormal content out there, but to promote paranormal unity. We're doing this by giving everyone an opportunity to tell their stories and to share their experiences. For more information, follow us on Facebook at Paranation Magazine and soon, paranationmag.com.
I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is the extraordinary travels of a young, alone, and broke psychic in the highly anticipated new book from internationally renowned psychic, medium, medical intuitive, and best-selling author Sherry Dillard. Critics have described I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like as an engrossing memoir, an empowering story of how a broken girl came to accept her psychic gift, a refreshing and fun read. I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is available through Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold.
Wrote Spirits of the Dead with a pen dipped in warm blood. You will see the ultimate in terror with this important all-star cast. Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda in Edgar Allan Poe's Spirits of the Dead. Only Poe's demented genius could bring to the screen such horror and evil. Spirits of the Dead stars Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda. Directed by three masters of the cinema, Federico Fellini, Louis Malle, and Roger Vadim. Spirits of the Dead is an adventure in terror beyond your wildest nightmares. Spirits of the Dead in color is rated R.
The answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything is 42. Yes, I thought it over quite thoroughly. It is, it's 42. It would have been simpler, of course, to have known what the actual question was.
But it was the question. The ultimate question. Of everything.
That's not a question. Only when you know the question will you know what the answer means.
You're listening to Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419 or by Skype caller ID OOJBland00 or JBland Paranormal Soup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight's guest is Iona Jenkins. She is the author of To Sing with Bards and Angels, A Journey into the Creative Heart. We are talking about that. I am myself trying to get back, be more creative and I used to be a guitarist and writer and do all that stuff. And man, having kids, life, work, it's been hard. I need those creative juices flowing. I'm really enjoying her book. And she has some beautiful poetry in there too. I'm going to let her read some of that tonight. But we also are going to open up the phone lines where you can call into the show, join the discussion tonight, ask a question of our guests. Bring me your weirdness. I don't care. Join us tonight. I don't know if we're going to go the full 3-hour show tonight. We might end earlier. I don't know. She's across the pond, so it's early morning for her. But me, I'm dealing with back pain. I'm just trying to make it through. But this guest is definitely helping me make it through. She's awesome. Iona Jenkins. Definitely check out her book, To Sing with Bards and Angels. Let's go ahead and get back to our guest. Thank you for staying with us this early in the morning for you, Iona.
No problem. I'm wide awake now.
Before we get, I want to have you read one of your poems here tonight for people to get an idea of some of the beautiful work you have in the book. But what's your thoughts on, one of the things kind of saddens me is, we talk about AI a lot on the show this year. And now people are like having it write their articles and write stories for them. There's literally AI out there. It's like, I feel like now AI is, you're going to even stifle our creativity.
Tell me more about AI. I'm not sure what it is.
Well, there's now, you have the Chat GPT thing where you can ask questions or tell it to figure out a problem for you, but they have AI art. Like literally you can type in and say, I want to see, what would a zombie Armageddon look like? And that was one of the first ones we covered on the show. But literally anything. They're making like, Jamie, you mentioned before, like fake AI, like Joe Rogan's a famous podcaster and somebody made a whole AI, digitally recreates him or whatever. Right, Jamie? And like has a whole, like he's doing an interview with somebody or having this crazy conversation. He never did any of it. It was all AI generated.
Wow.
It's artificial intelligence, so they can take your whole likelihood, your whole likeness by using sound bites. They can get your whole behavior. There's been kidnapping scheme or ransom money schemes where they're calling people. They just need a 3-second clip of the voice, and it sounded like the girl crying and sobbing for her mom. It sounded legitimate. The mom was positive that was her daughter. Luckily,
there's a lot of dangers
to happened that the
daughter
daughter
was
sued.
But one of the ones I was just thinking about during the commercial break is like how it's stifling our creativity in a sense because people, for artists and that, artists are going to be artists. They're going to make their own paintings. They're not going to use AI. But at the same time, it's making it easy for these kids just to go on, I want this, or I'm going to generate it on an AI, or I'm going to have it write my paper for me, or I'm going to, have it do anything. That's where we're getting, this technology is getting so far advanced.
A lot of publications aren't even writing their own publications.
Hollywood. No, remember, Hollywood, some of the top people in Hollywood are talking about it, actually writing the scripts for movies and shows.
God, that's awful.
Isn't it? Okay.
It's really awful.
Here we're talking about getting the inner human creativity out, and we're inventing technology to say, we don't need that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying about technology. It's taken away the soul. That a person's art comes through the soul, and if you take somebody's art, you take their soul.
The perfect example of that
soul
is
stealing. It's soul stealing.
Well, there's somebody ran AI that does music. And told it, I want you to recreate make an original Nirvana song, like make it in the Kurt Cobain-esque Nirvana. And I'm a big Nirvana fan, but this was what they used as an example. And I listened to it, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds like Nirvana and Kurt a little bit, yeah. If they had no soul, that was my exact comment about it. If they had no soul, it wasn't, it's a zombie recreation of them. It's awful. Like Kurt Cobain would be rolling over in his grave. But it's what it sounded. It sounded like Nirvana sold out and has no soul.
That's like turning people into living dead, then.
Mm-hmm. But that's what we're facing. You want to hear the newest Frank Sinatra song? Here he is, AI Frank Sinatra. Woohoo! Creating new music or new AI Kurt Cobain. That's the future. I'm afraid we're facing is that we're going to let this stifle human creativity and take it over with this computer algorithms and AI that's like its own life form in a sense, creating stuff for humans. We need to tap into our own creativeness. creativeness.
And you as a parent are going to want to protect your kids from that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're going to need to get your kids out into nature.
Nature and encourage their creativity. Now,
Yeah.
You had a poem tonight. You said it was the what was the name of the poem?
It's called The Language of Angels. I wrote this after I've been in the Sistine Chapel, and I've gone back to some friends who had invited us over, and they live in a place called Cisterna di Latina. And
You're fine. I have the screen on you.
oh, great. Okay. So there is peace in Dove Grey Mountains, and in this rich red Roman earth. As late October sunshine wraps my skin in its subtle scent of ripened lemons, the leaves turn slow from green to gold. I see my inspiration like a lighted lamp, and then my mind, becoming still at last, is more than just a little glad to be here in Italy, such a warm, embracing place where my own creative truth outruns the waves of restless, racing thoughts, and the sound of my heart's voice rises, speaking soft in the language of angels.
That's beautiful.
Great. Do you want any more?
Yeah, you got another one?
I'll read you a little bit from a chapter. In the magic of dawn and twilight, the spaces between night and day, day and night, the veil seems to lift as the other world begins to weave its delicate, ethereal threads into the fabric of my imagination. At such times I have often experienced a strange feeling that I am standing in a painting. Since I am a spiritually motivated writer, I'm taking as much responsibility as I can for creating my own life. As already indicated in my last conversation with the angel Astariel, I remain dedicated to the notion that humanity forms an integral part of the creative force, both spiritual and materially, which is why I now consider the development of love to be so very important. The angel realm appears in my internal landscape as a domain of exquisite colour and light, where words arise like notes from a celestial ocean, breaking in waves of sound and a flurry of bright wings upon the shores of human consciousness. It seems to me that the angels work their creative wisdom in a way that is both nourishing and life-enhancing. Astariel seems to be a harmonious blend of opposites, my vision of an angelic being who personifies the creative spirit as I see it in my own humanity. I open a door to allow the angel, who appears both as a gentling, inspiring image in my intuitive mind and as a beautiful light on the ocean outside my window, to step into the world of form through my art. Okay?
That is beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I love that.
It's got the imagery in it, in what you're discussing. It makes me think of all the things we're talking about tonight, just summed up in a poem. You know, I mean, I love it. We do have a phone call. We got Zach on the line. How you doing tonight, Zach?
I'm doing pretty good, brother. How was your Easter?
It was good. It was good. Better than the people's Virgin Mary statue burned down. Poor people. But anyways, what's your question for our guest tonight?
Okay, I got two questions. Iona, very nice to meet you, ma'am.
Yeah, you too.
My first question goes back over to the Druids.
Yeah.
Because when I look into research about, you know, the Druid spirituality and all that, like, to me, I always find it fascinating whenever, like, ancient ways of life, though, somehow are able to survive into, you know, contemporary society. So my question is, for many of these ancient Druids, whenever Christianity was starting to come in and then the Romans took over, how were the Druids able to kind of masquerade really their spirituality and their way of life, and preserve just their traditions and customs and spiritual beliefs? How were they able to kind of masquerade it to where it would survive up to today?
Well, I guess it survived by moving into, first of all, Celtic Christianity, which would acknowledge nature. Many of the early Christian saints had Druid parents, so that continued into their way of relating to nature. And you notice that the Celtic cross doesn't have a crucified Christ on it. It's like the wheel of life that moves through the seasons instead. So the two things kind of melded together. And Druidry has survived. It's gone underground many times. A lot of people used to say that the Druids made human sacrifices. That may or may not have been true. We don't know. It's too far back in the mists of time to really, say that's true. It may or may not have been. It doesn't really matter because we have evolved. And because we have evolved, as human beings, Druidry has evolved. It's gone underground many times and come out again. And now in its very modern form, it can embrace a lot of different types of wisdom, but it still basically relates to nature. And the fact that we are not separate from nature, we are an integral part of it. But by allowing it to evolve, it survived. It's like that dance of, I don't know if you've seen that statue of Nataraja, the Indian statue of he dancing in a ring of flames. It goes through birth into life and then into death. Everything is born, it lives, it dies, created, sustained, destroyed. And things evolve after the destruction, so by changing and following that dance, Druidry survived, much the same as human beings have survived. And modern Druidry is probably nothing like ancient Druidry, though we still tell the original stories. We're still into the legends. And the legends actually relate in a psychotherapeutic way quite often. That as a former counsellor and psychotherapist, I can see the value of those legends, how they used to open doors and how they still can. But that's evolved into a much more modern way of looking at it. Nothing survives unless it evolves. Does that answer your question?
Okay. And then, no, that does answer my question.
Good. Okay.
My second question goes back to creativity. So just a little bit about myself. I'm going to be 34 next month, and I mean, I've tried all different things in life to try to find my creativity. So I've been a musician like Jason when I was growing up, but then I mean, I tried to do get my hand into hand rolling cigars. I did that before my mom got diagnosed with cancer. I mean, I tried to do my hand as stand-up comedy before I got kicked out of a comedy club one night.
Wonder why, Zach.
You know what? I was responding back to a heckler, and my response apparently they didn't like that. So, but anyhow, that's a story for another time. Not very radio friendly. But going on to my question. So, my question to you is, my question to you, going back to creativity. So, in your personal beliefs, do you believe that in some ways we are born with the idea of what kind of creative path that we are supposed to go to, or do you believe more in a free will approach to where you can go out and find your own creativity no matter what limitations there are?
Okay. I think there's probably a mixture of both. I think we come in with certain genetics. If I go back to my own story, there's a musicality that came down from my great-grandfather through my grandfather and my father, which started in Ireland and then ended up with me, that I can sing. But now, as I'm older, I use my singing voice to write. But it's still the same thing. I'm writing lyrically. So I think there is an innate talent. And I actually found that by learning to use my senses, by going out into nature and actually my greatest sense is sight. So by actually looking at everything around me, noticing every single thing, it's a form of mindfulness, I suppose. I call it wisdom walking because you learn from it. To actually really look, really record what's there, and then go on to another sense. My second biggest sense is sense of touch, if you like, feeling. And then to feel, and I feel what's there. I used to use that in my therapeutic practice quite a lot, is that you don't just see, you don't just listen, you feel. And to actually feel what's there, feel the atmosphere. You can actually taste different types of air in different places if you're looking at the sense of taste. For instance, if you're on the beach, the air tastes different to if you're in a wood. You know, there's a saltiness to the beach, there's a woodiness to the wood. To actually develop the senses. Now, start with the one you think is the greatest, and you can find that out by going out in nature and first using sight, then going on to hearing, then going on to feeling, then taste, and then scent, finding out which is your best sense and actually developing that as far as you can get it. And that ought really to show you where you're going. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, no, that definitely does make sense over to me. Well, those were all the questions that I had. Thank you very much, Iona, for answering my questions for me. I greatly appreciate it. I love hearing everything that you're saying, and I love that poem that you read just a few moments ago. I thought it was very beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zach.
Have a good night, everybody.
You too, bud. Yeah, I for me, it's like I know I'm missing out by not getting out in nature more, and I want to definitely. When you talk about like the senses of seeing and feeling, I used to do that a lot, where I'd get out and meditate outside, and where I close my eyes and I swear I can feel things around me, and it's not just seeing it, but I can feel the tree over there, I can feel the grass without touching it. You know what I'm saying? Like I can feel these things, like there's a sense of it. You know, you can almost like when somebody walks, you're quiet and somebody tiptoes in the room, you can still feel them. You can feel their presence. There's like presences of nature around you and energy.
Yeah. If you read chapter 8 of To Sing with Bards and Angels, I describe one such walks in Lincolnshire, and I describe every single detail of it and what I'm learning from that. You know, the fact that I could have slipped on a paving stone, and I have to be more careful of that because I'm older now, and if I slip, I might break a bone and it might not heal.
Yeah, don't do that.
You know. So if you read that chapter, you can see how that works, how tuning into everything. I've learned to use all my senses now when I go out on a walk. So I'm describing what I see, what I hear, what I feel, what the air tastes like, what scents there are around, the sounds of different types of birds, how I noticed just, some beach, autumnal beech leaves left in a hedge that have all dried up even though it's winter, and how bright the pheasant is against the dull colours of the winter there. It just shows how the senses are used, and chapter 8 will show you that.
Well, I think like, for meditation too, it's just being in the moment. That, which I think a lot of people, including myself, we miss all the time. We're not in the moment. We're chasing after ideas in our heads, and we're being, distracted by everything on our phones, and and then life, worry and stress and bills and all the other good stuff. It's like you do need a moment to like step into the now. What's going on right now?
The phone's a problem, isn't it? I've noticed even people in restaurants have got phones at tables instead of talking to each other. If you take the phone out into nature and start playing on it and answering messages and this, that, and the other, you miss it all. So it's probably a good idea not to switch it off, but to actually put it away.
Have it ready for a UFO.
Yeah.
Have it ready for a UFO. That's a nice thing we got. We'll get more UFOs. I have to ask you though. You are in a place that some people, I have friends in England, say you're kind of in the Cardiff area, and that area.
Yeah.
Wales is a very big UFO hotspot. Have you ever seen one?
I haven't. No.
No.
I've never seen one. But when I see these beings I call angels, they may actually be something else.
Extra dimensional or something like that.
It's like maybe you don't need a spaceship to go to somewhere. Maybe you can step through a door.
We've talked about that a lot on this show.
Yeah.
The possibility that a lot of the things that people are channeling or what they're communicating with you, with your angel, that these are in a sense extraterrestrial. Tomato. But it is something that from not this world. Maybe another dimension. Maybe it is an alien on another planet. Just able they're and so in tuned into the Force, they're able to reach out. They do that in Star Wars. They do that in Star Wars a lot, actually. The Jedi will reach out to each other through the Force, like Yoda's talking to people that are on or talking to people that are on another planet. They can biolocate and do stuff like that. That's why I always love Star Wars, because they touch in these concepts I believe could be a real reality, and then aliens are more spiritually advanced than us could be able to communicate or trying to influence us in the most benign way they can, I guess.
Well, what we call gods may actually have been visions of extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
Maybe there's what we call a higher power might actually just be more an advanced power than we are.
Yeah, and I've always said it, just because they have high, they might have higher technology, but they also, if they have higher technology, might have higher spirituality.
Exactly.
They've advanced in that. If they've advanced in technology, maybe they've advanced in spirituality, which I think you need to do. You have to have some kind of spiritual moral background when you're making technology that could destroy the world.
Yeah, exactly. That's why the development of love is so important in creativity. Because somebody once split the atom and then somebody else made nuclear weapons.
I am
from
Shiva,
that.
the great destroyer.
Yeah.
They're coming off what's his name? I just said is the quote he made, Oppenheimer movie, and I'm wondering how much. I'm interested to see it, because talk about somebody who created something that massively impacted the world in a negative way and regretted it. Humans can create. Yeah, we can create. We can create very destructive things too. And you mentioned people, and like I mentioned Anne Rice and her druid stuff in the fiction. Yeah, they were like sacrificing people in that.
Yeah,
there's like some negative connotations to druids and sacrifice.
I know.
Yes, there's people believe it, but who's to say? I mean, there's Christians and Muslims, and every religion's got its dark side.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at
And
the
who's to
Spanish
say there weren't
Inquisition.
right? Spanish Inquisition, Mel Brooks. No. But that's the thing. Any religion, any concept, any spiritual idea can have its yin and yang, its dark side. And thousands of years ago, there could have been some very bad druid cults, just as there's been bad Christian cults and Muslims and every religion.
Exactly. It's like we need to be evolving into love, which we're not at the moment.
Yeah,
but
we always
maybe
screw that part up.
Some people are, and so long as some people are, that vibe's going out into the world.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got a hard job.
It
but
does.
It's there. It's there. It's underground, and maybe one day it will be allowed to come forward.
I think anything that we do to encourage humans to get more inner, move beyond all the distractions of the material world and look within and search deeply about themselves, who they are, ask the big questions is good. It's good for humanity. We need more of that. And for people that are interested in discovering more about the Druid practices, where should they go? How should they start?
Well, you can look on the website for the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. If you just, in Britain, that is druidry.org.
Druidry.org.
There is an American version of that, and because the order does go into America as well. But to look on that website and look at the wisdom on there, look at the different things that are offered there. May not want to be a druid, but actually looking around the website is quite an education.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of information on there, and a lot of very wise people have put that together over the years.
It sounds good to me. Like everything you've described of it is something I'm interested in learning more about, because spiritually, I'm open to learn new things. I don't. I'll tell people I'm into Jediism, but that's just it's just the closest thing to my belief system. But I'm open to learn. I always love learning about new spiritual paths. Like I always love the Buddha saying, "There's many doors of the Dharma." There's many paths, basically, to truth.
Well, I quite like Star Wars myself. I find it a bit noisy these days, but I really like the earlier ones, you know, and especially
Oh
the
yeah.
first one.
Oh yeah.
I'm more Avatar these days than Star Wars, but
Oh
I
yeah.
really was into it.
Yeah, I haven't seen the new Avatar. I haven't gotten into that, but I like the first one. I like the first one. But yeah, for me, Star Wars as a kid, that was like, you know, I did grow up in a household with a mom who eventually became a Buddhist and a dad who's very scientific, you know, but he's not like an atheist, but very scientific. So I grew up in a household, discover what you want. And to me, the Force and Jedis and that stuff, that always called to me spiritually more than going to a church or anything I ever did. Now, I've gotten into Christian and into the Bible and Jesus, and I've gotten into Buddhism, and I love those things. I cherish those things. They have, as an adult, inspired me. But when I was a kid, none of that made sense to me. But Jedi, yeah, the Force, dark side, light side, you know, do or do not. There is no try. Yoda was my spiritual teacher. I can't help it. Yoda was my man. You know,
I used to like Chewbacca as well.
Chewbacca, yeah. But you know, my kids, they go. You know, one of my kids goes to church. The other one's, my older one's like, nah. You know, but my younger one will go. But then I have questions and stuff about, well, what do you believe, Dad? And I'm like, you know, I believe in the Force.
Yeah.
You know, they understand that. It's easy to tell, you know. But yeah, it's been an honor to have you on the show tonight. I am going to probably cut it out early because I'm barely hanging in here with a bad back tonight. But I want anything else you want to get out to the audience information-wise about either your upcoming projects, your website, and where they can find your book.
My website is www.ionajenkins.com. You can find my book in Barnes & Noble, on Amazon, in Kindle form and paperback form, and where all good books are sold, as they say. Or you can go directly through my publisher, which is John Hunt, publishing.com. On my website, on the Bards and Angels page, there's all the different outlets. It's available in on Kobo, Hive, and Apple in Kindle form, I believe. So, and I've got a blog. I've got a blog on there, which which I put wisdom in when I'm not actually putting out publicity.
Yeah. Well, it's been an honor to have you on the show.
Yeah, I've loved it. Thank you.
I definitely can't wait to finish reading your book. Definitely check out her book, To Sing with Bards and Angels, A Journey into the Creative Heart. Sorry, guys, didn't go a longer show tonight. I have been struggling so bad. I promise you, my audience, I've been going to the chiropractor. I bought a new mattress. I'm trying to do things. But I work every Sunday before I come do the show. And by the end of the day, I'm like, oh, my God. Sciatic is the worst. And I know I'm a big baby. Big baby. But I'm working on that part. And once I do, I want to, like, one of the reasons I want to get rid of my back pain is too, I was telling my 7-year-old who's in martial arts, like, I want to get back into that. That's another part of my aspect. I used to do Tai Chi, and I want to get back into martial arts. And, you know, I feel that's a whole creative, I mean, I don't want to say it's creative, but it gets you into that zone. That's that, like in sports, you know, again, that zone, the force, you know, whatever you want to call it, you know. That's what I'm trying to get back in touch to, and I think your book is awesome. It definitely made me feel the creative juices and what to do to try to like reconnect with that. So thank you.
Yeah, you're really welcome, and I hope that works out for you, and I hope your back gets better.
Thank you so much.
I've really enjoyed myself. Yeah, really enjoyed
honor to have you on the show, guys. Sorry I'm cutting an hour early tonight. We will be back next Sunday, same bad time, same bad channel. Hopefully 3-hour show. It will. I would think I will make it. I will work. I'm getting better every week. I'm better than I was a week before. Just today was a bad day. For me, it's psoriatic arthritis. And like we had like 70, 80 degree weather, and now it went down to 45, 50 degree weather. And that weather change killed me today. Just killed me. So I don't know. Next week, hopefully we don't have that because we have Paul Wallace joining us next Sunday. Same bad time, same bad channel. 11 p.m. to 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. to 1 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Pacific time. Thank you to everybody else who shares out the show. Keep telling your friends about Paranormal Soup, where the weird happens live every Sunday night. Don't forget, you can help us out $2 a month, $5 a month on Patreon. It does help pay the bills. We also have Super Chat and Stars. Super Chat for Facebook, Stars for Facebook, or Super Chat for YouTube, Stars for Facebook. You can help donate that way. It does help pay the bills for the show. Thank you again, Iona. You have a great night. All right, guys. See you next week. Same time, same bad channel. Love you. Next Sunday.